Hello and welcome to Genius League Smart Bytes, powered by HPE. I'm Colin Sharkey, brand events and strategy intern at Evil Genius, and will be your host for our Unlocking Esports Excellence, Data, Insights, and Expertise at Evil Genius's conversation this evening. In this session, we'll take a deep dive into the world of esports data analytics as seen through the eyes of Evil Genius's data scientist, software engineer intern, and data analyst intern. We'll explore the pivotal role of data in the esports industry, shedding light on its importance both within Evil Genius and in the broader context of competitive gaming. We will be answering questions from the audience, so if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in Twitch chat. We are honored to have our partner as HPE present the entire Smart Bytes series. HPE is the official data insights partner at EG and is working with our coaching staff to create AI and machine learning tools to analyze gameplay and evolve team strategy. We've worked with them to show our fans more data and insights, and their logo is proudly worn on the shoulder of our jerseys. Stay tuned for a lot more exciting things from our partnership with each HPE. But for now, let's introduce our three special guests. We're very excited to have you all here. So let's start off with some introductions. Christina, would you mind kicking us off with your title and a brief summary of your job at your internship?
Of course. So my name is Christina John, and I'm currently a data analytics intern at EG, and I mainly works on the marketing and analytic and business operational side of the business.
Awesome. Happy to have you, Christina. Colin, do you mind giving a summary of your job and your title?
Yeah, I'm Colin. I'm the software engineering intern here at EG. A lot of my role is focused on like data collection and processing for both esports and business side of things. We work directly with like both sides of the both sides of the company with processing esports data as well as like business and social media data.
Awesome. And we also have Ivan with us. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your background at Evil Genius?
Yeah, I am the data scientist here at EG. I've been working pretty much on data pipelining and analytics engineering, more so than pure data science, with the goal of making our coaching staff's lives just a little bit easier.
Perfect. And for our viewers, a little bit of context. The three interns on this panel, we are part of the Genius League program, which is the collegiate initiative for Evil Genius. Now, Colin, I'm a little curious. Could you share a bit about your educational background and any prior experience or internships that prepared you for your role at Evil Geniuses?
Yeah, I'm a third year computer engineering student at UC San Diego. So a big part of my experience comes from the work I've done for my degree, but also I'm the starting varsity support for our League of Legends team, which is kind of what got me into the esports space. I was always a big fan of esports, so being able to combine that with what I've been picking up over my last couple of years in college is a big plus. So before I was working with EG, I ran my own company that did like analytics and graphics for League of Legends broadcasts and different amateur esports teams. So it was like decently successful, which continues to help me get my foot in the door for positions like the Genius League at EG and others that I also interviewed for.
Cool. Now, this is a little off topic, but I have to know since you brought up League, what's your League rank?
Currently, I am challenger in league.
Oh, snap. Okay. I'm gonna leave that alone then. I was looking for a way to make a joke, but never mind. Christina, what about you?
So I just graduated from UCLA with a bachelor in business economics, and I'm going to be I'm an incoming master student at USC for applied data and data science. And I guess for my background, it's a little bit different because I didn't major in data analytics, but I got really into data analytics through some of the intro courses I take at school. So most of my experience I've gained that in internships as well as some side projects I did with school organizations. So, for example, I am a data analyst at a consulting club at my school. And furthermore, I've had multiple experience in different fields within the data analytics field. So I worked in entertainment before, finance, healthcare. So I guess like all of those experiences kind of help me to get more practice within data analytics, and that's how I got my internship here at EG.
So you have a little bit more experience in what us on the gaming side, a normie background, which is more traditional to the industry. I'm curious though, so how did you first discover the Genius League program and what made you pursue an internship within the sphere of esports?
So I'm not gonna lie, I think the first time I saw EG, since I'm not a gamer, but the first time I saw EG was its job posting on LinkedIn, and I got really interested in the position because of I guess the content of data analytics that I'll be working with within EG, which is marketing and business operation. So that got me applying for EG, and I guess it's a really good decision after all, because I really enjoy the esports sphere. I really enjoy the culture and how people interact within this industry. And yeah, I'm glad I made that decision to apply for the job on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Data is an important part of esports. And for anyone that's a student that's interested in any internship, LinkedIn, as Christina mentioned, is just such a great place for both networking within the esports industry and finding opportunities in the workforce. Ivan, I'm going to turn it to you. Internships, as we just discussed, are highly competitive. Could you possibly elaborate on the application and selection process and maybe offer any advice for students or aspiring professionals interested in similar roles within this industry?
Yeah, so our application process involves a take-home assessment that's somewhat representative of the work that we kind of like think or at least know will be mapped out for the following 6 months, which is when the cohort takes place. After the take-home assessment is submitted, we take a little bit to kind of review and narrow down the pool a little bit more, and we run a follow-up interview talking about design decisions, as well as some technical questions that are kind of all in relation to what was submitted. I don't think it's anything too out of the ordinary. Kind of modeled this process based off of Coinbase, Spotify, and I believe Robinhood also does something very similar. So very normal in the industry, I would say.
Now, I'm not data or analytics, so I'm curious. Colin and Christina, did you guys have to do this take home that he talked about? And if you did, how did you prepare for something like that? If I'm assuming it's the norm for internships like these positions.
I'll go first. Yeah, I had to do the take-home assessment. It was a little different than most of the other ones from like normal tech companies that I've applied to. It was more of like a real world application of using like of this than what other companies do, where they ask you like a random like problem that will like take an hour or two to solve. It was kind of like more like a mini project of some sorts, where mine was related to CS:GO. So that was a little unique. It caught me a little off guard, because I wasn't really that prepared for it. But I would say for people that are trying to prepare for this kind of thing, just doing projects that are related to esports, like your own personal projects, would be good preparation for something like this. It's not going to be like your normal leak code or something like that. It will be more like applied and real world examples.
Awesome. Christina, since you don't have the gaming background, did you face, a similar, not blindsided, but I guess it would be interesting and kind of a new perspective into data and analytics if you had a take home test?
Yeah, all that assessment is pretty unique to me as well, because for me, it's a similar process as Colin, but for my data set, it was more pivot on the social media side of the business. So I received the data set, and then it's more of like an open-ended questions, which gives me like, I guess, like more spaces to adding creativities of like my own analysis and my own insights into the assessments. And I really enjoy it, because usually I would say for other data analyst role I've encountered, it's either like you have to do a very like normal like lead code question or SQL question, or they just ask you in technical interview like how do you do this or how do you do that. So it's a very unique assessment, and I really enjoy it because I get to actually showcase my skills. And I would say tips for preparing it. I guess at the time I feel like it wasn't super hard at all because I already gained all the experience from doing projects on my own, whether it's at school or it's like other clubs or organization. Like those experience will definitely help you in the technical interview.
Awesome. It sounds like even starting with an application process when it comes to data science and analytics, it's very hands-on. So Ivan, I'm curious, could you share your perspective on the significance of an internship for individuals looking to break into the field of data analytics and maybe what unique learning opportunities someone can learn from an internship like the ones that Evil Geniuses and HPE provide?
Yeah, definitely more generalized to data analytics or data science, but having, I guess, work experience is um, definitely valuable. I want to say a little bit less so on the technical aspects because um, it's you learn quite a bit these days on YouTube, Codecademy, and just doing some Googling these days. Um, but I feel like with our internship, it's more about learning how to overcome strange logistical situations that may or may not pop up. Like, what if your stakeholder suddenly bumped up like a delivery date or changed the deliverable altogether? It's important and really helpful to learn and experience how to kind of pivot quickly, come up with a plan B and C, and just learn how to handle that type of stress. Because I would say in a startup environment, or I guess more so in like our esports environment, a lot of these things kind of happen really quickly. People are kind of sort of picky about what the deliverables end up being, and it's a little bit different from working at like a big tech company, so to speak.
Very interesting. And, Colin, as an intern, you both have an interest in, gaming before you got into the professional world of the esports landscape. You're gaining firsthand experience in what it means to be on the business side. I'm curious, how do you view the role of your internship in helping aspiring professionals bridge the gap between academic knowledge and practical skills?
Yeah, I think the big gap between academic knowledge and practical skills is a important aspect of an internship because at least in my experience, like the college courses I've taken have really built up like the theory of each topic you learn about, but you don't really have much time to go and apply that to real world applications because like each college quarter is so short, like you have to like keep going to the next topic, new material each time. So I think being able to have an internship where you're able to apply what you've learned in your courses to real world applications is what makes the experience really helpful. And also like Ivan said earlier, the work experience, like just working at a company is very different than being a student because you have people that are like relying on the work you do for like every day, and getting that like that culture difference is very important because I think like when you graduate college and go to your job, companies will find it really valuable to see that, oh, this person has already had this kind of experience in the company, so we don't have to spend as much time and effort to like build them up to a point where they're able to function on their own, like in their company.
Oh, absolutely. The, hands-on working experience, whether it's volunteering at school or getting an internship like the one at Evil Genius, I think just having something like that on your resume makes you stand out as a candidate who's had experience in the field that you're learning about. And it shows that you can apply what you've learned in school to an actual profession. And Christina, you've mentioned you've done a lot of work, but I'm curious how this internship to you, how do you bridge that gap between academic knowledge and the actual skills that you use on a daily basis in your position?
Yeah, I would do a similar thing as Colin. So for most of the courses that we take at school, it's usually more theoretical, and you don't usually get the chances to apply everything that you learn into actual work, into actual projects. So internship definitely allows you to have that transition from theoretical knowledge into actual like practical usage of the knowledge. and use that in terms to help business or to help the operational team in order to achieve some business goals within the company. So on that note, I think it's super important to kind of like use internship as a way to learn how you can transition from a student into a full-time employee once you graduate. So it's a good learning experience.
Absolutely. And this question goes for both of you. I mean, when you're in school, right, it's kind of the turning point from adulthood. It's when you start looking for jobs and you're out on your own. How do your internship positions empower you to contribute meaningfully to the development of tools, technologies, innovation within the industry? You get to see firsthand how things are currently changing.
I would say, yeah, with being able to work in the industry is definitely a big plus. To seeing how everything works. Like you get like kind of an insider scoop on what's going on and how things really function. Because from the outside, you can only like kind of like predict like, oh, like how does this work? But once you're on the inside, you can really learn and understand how the industry works and like what ticks the clock of the esports industry and wherever you're working. Like it really gets you a better understanding of what you need to learn to like to continue move on in your career. Like there are a lot of aspects like that I learned here, like that cloud computing, very big part of like what's gonna be in the future. So like maybe working on that more is a good strong point to have in your resume to continue your career like after your internship and when you look for a full-time job.
Absolutely. When this panel is over, I'm gonna have to ask you what I know what the cloud is. I assume it's not the same as the one that's on my iPhone. But, it's nice when you're working in the sphere, you get to see, like, what other companies are doing and even have conversations with, like, our mentor, Ivan, here about what's changing, what's coming next, and, what they think the possibilities looks like for the landscape. Christina, I don't mean to keep picking on you, but you weren't a huge gamer. Us interns have kind of forced Christina into playing a little bit more, but how has working at EG allowed you to apply your skills to a real world challenges within the esports domain? I know it's a different landscape than you're used to.
Yeah, I would say definitely there's a bit of a learning curve at first just to understand how the industry works. Because for esports, it's a bit different than traditional industries like tech industry or entertainment. But um, I would say during like the work itself, like because I'm mostly working on marketing and business operation, that kind of helps me really transition all of my work that I learned in my past internships or in my past projects into esports. Because and because like marketing is pretty important part of esports industry and the esports organization, and then the ability that I can use like leverage like my skills that I learned before into this is pretty. I always say it's pretty cool that I can actually just kind of translate it into esports.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that answer. And, before we go into our next questions, I want to take a quick second to welcome everybody who might just be joining us and tuning in to the Smart Bytes powered by HPE. And we would also like to thank our official data insights partner, HPE, as the series wouldn't be happening without them. They're instrumental in all the things we do data. Um, Colin, I'm going to throw it back to you. Software engineering plays a critical role in data analytics tools and technologies. How do you perceive the intersection of data and technology shaping the future of actual competitive gaming? And what innovative solutions are you involved with here at EG?
I think that like big data will play a huge part in the future of competitive gaming. We've already seen it kind of take over in traditional sports in the last couple of decades, and I don't really see a reason why it won't happen in esports with enough time and investment. Um, I know in my own experience playing for UCSD, we've definitely used our own small bits of data to help us make important decisions about what we want to do. So, at a much larger scale, well, in budget, you're able to see so much more happen. But personally, here at EG, I've been working with the new Valorant data a lot. That's pretty new because the game just came out, so we can already see how helpful it will be. And because Valorant is such a similar game to CS:GO, we can kind of use that as like a bridge to see what already works in CS:GO, what might work from CS:GO to Valorant, and continue to push that forward in the industry.
Awesome. I love that. I'm actually going to need you guys to work on kind of a data analysis about which crosshair is best for Valorant so I can improve my gameplay. But Ivan, as Colin has said, data is vital in esports decision making. As a data scientist at EG, can you elaborate on how data driven insights contribute to EG's competitive edge and genuinely its overall success?
Yeah, I think we're one of the few teams to be able to leverage this amount of data coming from both Valve's Counter-Strike, Dota 2, and Riot's League of Legends, as well as Valorant. I think my favorite story that I still tell people to this day is one of my interns from, I think, the previous cohort was working with the Dota 2 team at the time, and he got a message from some of the players on the team asking for like a last minute analysis on, I believe the hero is called Broodmother, which is like a spider hero that like puts webs to block certain areas or something like that. And he spent like the weekend working on it. And I remember he was just so excited when he was watching the TI match, and they actually did everything, or for the most part, mostly everything that he recommended. So it's moments like these that are like super fun and in my opinion what kind of give us like the edge in competitive matches.
That's super cool. And really the EG team has made us interns feel like part of the community. So even hearing about old stories where, an intern gets excited and considering we're so data forward, them getting, pumped to do something over the weekend in their free time in order to contribute to a game that they enjoy is just part of why I love being an intern. But, you know, there's always little stories like that that make things keep esports interesting. It's definitely not your normal desk job. Um, Christina, you're a little bit different from Colin's position. You also work kind of closer in the marketing and business side with social media. You're gaining firsthand experience with data's role in esports when it comes to the brand. What have you learned about the importance of data in the industry, and how does it impact the team dynamics, and gameplay as well?
I would say so. In terms of the marketing and business side, it's definitely a very like a super important factor of esports organization. So instead of me analyzing gaming strategies, we're more supporting the back ends of how this organization works or how this organization operates. For example, we were able to get meaningful data sets or data insights for marketing teams so they can make good decision on what kind of posts or tags they're supposed to do to gain more popularity or to gain more impressions. Or on the business side, like how can they gain more partnership based on demographics or based on like fans' interests. So I would say that's on the business side of data analytics are super important too, even though it's not directly contributing to the gamers' performance in the game.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, memes aside, how we come across as a brand and how our posts create meaningful engagement with not only, our community, but players that are interested in improving themselves. We get to share, the findings that we find in data. And I loved Ivan's story, and I'm curious, Colin, could you, describe any exciting projects or findings that you may have encountered at your tenure as an intern at EG?
Sure. I know one thing that Ivan and I recently finished was working more on the brand side of things with the big jersey sponsors that we have. We were kind of looking at what parts of the jerseys are seen more on the streams and like what is visible and what's not. So we were working pretty closely with like a machine learning model to recognize the logos on our jerseys on different streams like Valorant Champions and CS:GO and Dota. So being able to find that kind of stuff gives us an edge on making partnerships with companies, because we can tell them like, your logo will be seen X amount of times on these streams, and if you put it in this spot, it will be seen the most compared to like, where other places that logos are put on jerseys. Like if you put it on the back, it's obviously not going to be seen as much because the player cameras are like face forward. So stuff like that just gives companies an edge when they're looking for new partnerships on the business side.
Very cool. Actually, I didn't know that, and you want your logo to be seen as many times as possible, and being able to share that information with brands, it's integral for building up what our jerseys look like. And moving back to gameplay, Ivan, I'm curious. Could you share specific examples how data has influenced important strategic decisions, or even player performance within Evil Genius?
Yeah, I in regards to strategic decisions, Colin kind of took my example already. As he kind of previously mentioned, we did an analysis for the international as to where we could kind of sell a spot on our jersey since we have some vacancies. And then, doing some more analysis, we were able to determine not only where the best spot was, which happened to be the shoulders, but also we were able to kind of reallocate our total jersey valuation into kind of like a more optimized, I guess, inventory list. That way, if a company wants to sponsor us, they're paying appropriately for the viewership that they get. If it was, on the more popular shoulders versus somewhere like lower down the chest, where during like gameplay that definitely wouldn't show up. So that would be my example for strategic decisions.
Again, that's still a really cool concept, and gathering that kind of information is, to me, that's innovative. I've never really heard of anyone doing that, and I'm curious, how data collection and analysis tools are evolving to meet the unique demands of the esports industry. And how do you think it's changing, and what tools you use currently?
Hmm. That definitely is a good question. Let's see. I would say that at least for the tools that we use, I think that they're very typical in most data science or data forward roles. So such as Python and SQL are definitely the standard ones that we use. As for our cloud computing platform, we definitely use quite a bit of virtual GPU power as well as CPU power. So, this partnership with HPE has been very important to us, because without them, creating these models such as the computer vision or the logo detection model that we just worked on would have taken forever if anyone has ever tried to create a model using their like tiny little computer. So yeah, I would say those are really the most important tools out there. Obviously, when you're talking about cloud computing platforms, there's a bunch of like little microservices, but that is kind of more dependent on what your actual role within the company is. So I'm not going to recommend any microservices within any cloud computing platforms, primarily because it might not be as useful to someone listening.
Absolutely. Now, tools aside, there are skills and things you can work on it when you are starting off, in college. What foundational skills and knowledge, and areas do you recommend aspiring data analytics and data scientists prioritize developing? And, what resources of courses have proven valuable in your own journey?
So I have to put a disclaimer here because I'm associate to Codecademy, but Codecademy is a great place to learn programming. I have written a few lessons and projects, so I'm a little bit
Oh,
biased. Um, So yeah, I would say that's a great resource. Stack Overflow is always a great resource as well, especially since a lot of the typical questions are commonly asked on that website. As for what tools to learn, I think a lot of people will definitely learn, the typical Python, SQL in classes. I have seen less cloud computing skill sets in resumes that I've reviewed though. So I guess starting off with any cloud computing platform would be fantastic. I mean, a lot of them offer free tiers for students and like hobbyists to kind of like just play around with. So I think those places, those are fantastic starting points.
Great advice. And, Christina, Colin, you are university to working internship. Are there any skills or, techniques that you use now in your internship that you think really put you ahead of the game and that you'd recommend other people looking to work in the space, learn themselves?
I think that working on your own personal projects to bolster up your resume is a big thing that could get your foot in the door. So if you like have like a big passion for Valorant or League of Legends or Dota, maybe look up a data set that you can play around with. There are many online on Kaggle or other sites that you can just download and you know go like take a look at your own interests. And if you're a big Valorant player, you're like, what is the best agent for each map, and like what has like high win rates for each map? Like do something that like sparks your interest, so it's not only like work for you to do, but you're enjoying doing it. That will really push your project forward. Having something that you're passionate about and able to talk to in interviews is like a big thing that can really make you stand out against all of, like the other candidates, because it's highly competitive in this industry and tech industry right now. So just being able to be remembered by your interviewer is always a big plus these days.
Oh, absolutely. Being remembered is, more than getting your foot in the door. They have a genuine conversation with you and know that you know your stuff. Christina, are there any skills or techniques or anything like that Colin didn't mention that, you've learned yourself moving from university to the workforce?
Yeah, I would say it's like similar because he already said like Kaggle. I think Kaggle is super super useful for anyone who's interested in data analytics because they have a massive amount of data sets on there that you can use to practice. And besides that, I would say definitely just try to get all the opportunities that you have to work on a project, whether it is your personal project or it is in a hackathon or in an organization. Try to find some hobbies or interests that you're passionate about, and then I guess I combine your skill set with their interests. And besides that, I would say another good tip is to, I guess I don't know if you guys know Coursera. So Coursera offers a lot of courses in different areas. So for me, because I was a business economics major, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to take technical classes. So Coursera was a really good platform for me to learn extra things that I couldn't learn in school. And then in the courses on their website, they also offer projects opportunities that you can also showcase them and put it on your resume.
Very cool and helpful, information. You both spoke to getting experience, and internships specifically often serve as that stepping stone into the esports data field. Could you both share tips or strategies for landing and making the most of internships in this industry? And maybe how did you find your internship experience influence your career path?
I can that.
Oh, you can go
Oh,
first.
Okay.
Both excited. I love it.
I guess it's more of a general, not only esports answers. So I guess the first thing is every time you have to be very proactive. You always make sure that you're on top of all the tasks and you're willing to learn. That's also like a very important thing because I don't think anyone will know everything that they can before they start the job. So it's always good to have the willingness to learn on the job, because you encounter a lot of new problems on a daily basis. And yeah.
Yeah, I think along with what Christina said, being able to learn on the job is a very important thing when you're in internships, because obviously you're going to be like you're going to be under a lot of people that are much more knowledgeable than you on the space. So being able to just absorb what they tell you and apply that to what you're working on is a big plus. And especially in the esports industry, where there are not like you're going to encounter problems that have not been solved before. So you're going to have to just like try to pull from other places and try to put together a solution to those problems, because you're not always going to be able to like look up on the internet like, oh, I have this problem, like can you just tell me what the solution is? Like this problem was probably not solved before, because esports is such a new space. So it's always useful to be able to learn and adapt like on the job.
Adapting on the job. That's not always the easy thing to do, but that's great advice. It's forever changing, especially in esports. I make jokes about, this isn't a normie, desk job. There's stuff happening, game competitive side. So that's great. And we do actually have a couple of questions from Twitch chat that I want to go ahead, and ask you guys. The first one is for Christina and Colin. What is next in your career after Evil Genius?
Okay, I guess I can go ahead first. So I guess my next step is definitely get a master's degree first, because for me, I still hope that, or like, I think I need to gain more technical skills in terms of data science. So getting that master's degree is super important to me. And after that, I guess my career goal is to become a data scientist in a field or an industry that I am passionate about. So I guess like now I really enjoy esports. So esports would be a potential option.
We
Or
converted her.
yeah, or entertainment, retail. Like I like to work in the industry that's like has interesting content, I would say. So maybe not something like finance. Yeah,
You've switched over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd also say that I'm gonna work on finishing school first, get my degree, and then try to find a job somewhere in an industry that I'm interested in. It'd be nice to continue to work in the esports industry, except it's obviously very competitive with a lot of people that want to be there. So just landing a job at a place where I feel like I am making a difference and being able to contribute to the field is something that I am interested in, which is why esports is so attractive, because it's usually smaller teams where what you do definitely contributes to like the larger goal of the org or company that you're a part of. So I think that's my at least immediate goals for the future.
I think those are all great goals. And sometimes us interns, we have conversations about this, and what happens next after the internship. And when we get to talk to the executives at EG, a lot of the questions that we ask, how did they get here? And so Ivan, I'm curious, with your past experience and your education, how did you navigate into esports and find your home at Evil Genius?
Yeah. Similar to how I was writing for Codecademy, I was also writing for a site that Evil Geniuses runs called Factor.gg. I was writing like data science or like analytical articles based off of some like league matches or like league pros. And I remember I was at Disney Plus at the time, and I was finishing up my master's degree. Basically, said I needed some time to take a break and interview before continuing on with writing any before continuing on with writing any more articles. And they said, "Hey, do you want to come work for us?" And I was like, "Sure." Yeah, like, I think it was like 5 months or 4 months down the line, it kind of ended up coming true.
Very cool. We're happy to have you and appreciate your advice and experience. But with that being said, I think this is questions for all three of you. You will have to forgive me. I'm not the most, conversation savvy when it comes to data and analytics, but are there any analytical software or scripting that you need to be familiar with for roles like yours?
I think we
Software.
touched on this a little
That's
before.
what I figured.
Yeah, obviously Python, SQL, cloud computing, all that stuff is definitely used every day in a role like ours. So I think just getting very comfortable with those tools is useful for honestly any job that you're looking for these days. It's a it's pretty big in every industry, so it would not hurt to brush up on those skills.
Yeah, definitely agreed with that. Maybe, get comfortable with Git and working with GitHub so you have some knowledge of version control. And we don't necessarily use or do any CI/CD on our team, but that's definitely something you can look into as well if you're trying to go for more of a data engineering, ML ops type of role.
Awesome. Great
And
advice.
yeah. And I think another thing that's super important is data extraction. So be able to extract data from websites using API or just do web scraping. That's super important in any of the data fields.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, this one is for our interns. Any advice for students looking to apply for a data role in the next Genius League cohort, which is coming up kind of soon?
I think my advice is I guess I can speak for the assessment then. I think for the assessment, definitely just showcase any skills that you have in terms of data analytics or data science. Don't hold back on what you wanna, because it's very open ended. So don't hold back. Just show the creative side of your solutions to the interviewers, and that I think you'll be fine.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. Colin, any advice for aspiring Genius Leaguers?
I think I've probably sound like a broken record, but having good projects to make you stand out, I think is the most important part because, you could have your 4.0 GPA. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people applying that have that, but having actual projects to show that, you're passionate about the field and you've already have some experience working in the kind of things that you might do at the Genius League is a big plus, I think, like that will make you stand out.
Awesome. Wonderful advice. This last question from Twitch chat, one of my favorite to ask. We'll start with you, Colin. What are your favorite aspects of working at EG and in esports?
I think some of my favorite parts about working at EG are the people here. They're all, super passionate about esports. It's fun to, go look at our Slack channels during events and see everyone like, popping off when something cool happens in one of the games. So I think being a part of that kind of community where we can rally behind our esports teams is an experience that you don't really get at other places that you work at. So that's one of my favorite parts about working here.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Christina?
Yeah, I can definitely speak for that because I had multiple experience in different industry. And for esports, what I love the most is the culture and the working environment. I think compared to more traditional fields, everyone's very nice and very chill, which like I really enjoy the working environment here because like you don't get pressured all the time or you don't have to dress professionally or speak professionally all the time just to like talk to your coworkers. And I really enjoy just having casual conversations and discuss like work, even tasks sometimes like just on using Slack. Yeah, I think that's one thing very special of the company. I actually, since my internship started, I barely used email. I think most of the time we like all of us communicate on Slack, which makes it like it's just a very nice environment to work work at.
Oh, absolutely. Especially for like the younger generation, Gen Z. And, you see on TikTok sometimes if you're in like the internship or, young professional area, it's always like this could have been an email. But EG is very good at that. And you get to customize your status on Slack. Mine is working girl with the 7TV cat thumbs up emote, which I love that I get to do that. And Ivan, what's your favorite part about working at Evil Geniuses and, just in the esports industry in general?
Yeah, just the culture is a lot more loose and relaxed than I think anywhere else that I've really worked at. It's very easy to kind of just chat up someone, talk about things that isn't just work, talk about life and all that stuff. So having better relationships here just due to esports being relatively young of a company filled with younger people, I guess, it is really nice. Coming from bigger companies like Disney Plus, a lot of things are kind of political, so to speak, between the competing Disney branches of parks, streaming, and TV. So yeah, it was a different time back then.
Yeah, the work culture and the company culture is great at Evil Genius, and we all care about, first of all, one another, but we're also passionate about esports, even if it's not something we started in with our working career. We love what we do, and I think it's fun to not only have casual conversations about that, but it's also what you're doing every day for work. We do actually have another question from Twitch chat, and it's actually a great question. And anyone can answer because I'm curious about all three of your takes. But when are you planning to start using generative AI in esports?
Uh, Colin and I actually just had this meeting about brainstorming ideas. I'm not too sure how we are gonna implement generative AI into esports. However, this is a conversation and a very fun project that I kind of wanted to see if we could figure out and like kind of put in the roadmap. Um, I don't think we have any great ideas at the moment. Unless Colin, you can prove me wrong now.
Now's your time to shine, Colin.
It's tough one. I'm still working on that.
Well, at least we know that, the conversation is starting. AI is, relatively new, and especially on social media, there's a lot of discourse about whether or not it belongs in esports or any business to begin with. But I love that we're talking about it, which I find very interesting. And that was a great question. Thank you, Twitch chat. Thank you, all of you. I wanted to say, thank you guys all for joining us this evening for Genius League Smart Bytes powered by HPE panel with Ivan, Christina, and Colin. If you guys are comfortable with it, by all means, if you want to shout out your LinkedIn or Twitter or any kind of social handles that you guys have where they could follow you to connect if they have any more questions.
Yeah, you can find my LinkedIn at Colin Lee 33 and my Twitter at Protos LOL. You can DM me on there if you want. I'm pretty active on both. So.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I believe the URL is just my name, Ivan Cheng. Please put like the fact that you're coming from the stream because I get a lot of LinkedIn like email and requests. It's really hard to sort through all of them. Thank
But
you.
that's why you never accepted my connection. All right.
Oh.
I see how it is. Christina, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. I think my username is just my name, Christina Zhang. And yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. We hope you all enjoyed the conversation and gained some insight onto how we use data throughout our organization. Be on the lookout for details on upcoming Smart Bytes panels and follow the Genius League on Twitter and Instagram to stay up to date. Before we close out this panel, thank you so much, HP, for helping us bring this to life. We look forward to everyone joining us on our next panel. We hope you all have a wonderful night.